welcome to the Nexus. Today we're going to be discussing the Vince McMahon documentary from Netflix. Okay, so we're going to be discussing the McMahon documentary on Netflix, and I'm just going to give you my final verdict. There's 6 episodes, about an hour or so long each one, and it's discussing Vince McMahon, probably the most controversial character in the whole of wrestling. I just want to take you through my wrestling journey, basically. So I started watching wrestling in the late 80s, and I've continued to watch it up to this day. I'm a huge wrestling fan, as you can see, and so I'm massively heavily invested as well. So I've seen near enough all the documentaries. I follow near enough all of them on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call that now. I've seen lots of shoot interviews over the years. I've seen a lot of sort of podcasts. I'm heavily involved or into wrestling. It's right up there. So I'm a massive geek. So there's Star Trek, wrestling, and everything else. So I'm a huge wrestling fan. And so I just wanted to give you my final verdict on the whole series. So after watching all 6, what did I learn as a lifelong WWE fan? Nothing. That's my final verdict. I learned nothing. If you've watched all the programs over the years, you've watched or listened to podcasts over the years and shoot interviews and everything else, nothing in this documentary is new. Not a thing. There was a DVD out, actually, the McMahon DVD, that was produced quite a while ago by Silvervision, which gave a lot of it into his insight into a lot of stuff as well, which they discussed on the documentary. There were maybe 1 or 2 bits that I didn't really know, but I wouldn't have called them shock moments or anything like that. It tried to portray him. It's really strange. I think when you've played a character as long as Mr. McMahon has, and it is a character, the lines are blurred, and it's with wrestling anyway. If you don't know where the character is and where it ends and where the real person starts. And I think McMahon has been playing the McMahon character for such a long time. We just assume that is him. That what we see on screen is Vince McMahon. But if you've watched a lot of the documentaries, and you know full well that there is a sort of difference to him, despite all the allegations and stuff like that, that's still ongoing. Once again, I want to just point out as well, nothing really surprises me anymore. I think we live in a world now where it just doesn't surprise me. And the problem with McMahon is you can't, like I said, it's completely blurred and completely wired, because where does the character end and where does the person start? And I think once you've been playing a character, it's a bit like Hulk Hogan. Do we know where Terry starts and Hulk Hogan begins, or vice versa? Because he's played Hulk Hogan for such a long time now, it's blurred the lines. It's the same with The Rock. We have The Rock and we have Dwayne Johnson, but where does The Rock end and Dwayne start? You know what I mean? It's completely blurred. I mean, most people that would see a movie now, he's called Dwayne Johnson, but I think most people, including myself, would probably still call him The Rock, which was a character he played on TV. It's the same with John Cena. The problem is when you have a character with the same name, that is when it becomes more blurred. So where does John Cena the wrestler start and John Cena the person start? And they're not the same person, and this is what you got to get out. But I just wanted to say that, firstly, the documentary didn't portray anything new. If you've been an avid, long life wrestling fan like myself, you know all this. You know all the allegations. You know all the stuff that went on. You know the plane ride from hell. It's already been done. You know about Owen Hart. You know about Chris Benoit. You know about all the allegations, all the stuff that has ever gone on. It's always been in the domain. Nothing is new. The storyline with Stephanie McMahon and the problems with Shane McMahon as well. None of that is new. We know all that. Shane left the company long ago because I think he felt undervalued, and I think he felt that you can see it in a documentary anyway. But ultimately, I think all he wanted was a father, but he was always playing the character, if you know what I mean. But Shane went off and done his own thing and become very, very successful. In fact, the thing that Shane went off and did was something he brought to Vince, which eventually became the WWE Network and NXT. But it's amazing how, if you read up about Shane McMahon, it's amazing how he had this vision on what he wanted, which was a sort of a paid-for streaming service for wrestling, and it was like developmental, which is now NXT, and the streaming service he was talking about. This was way before Netflix or anything like that. And he was already discussing it, and Vince turned him down. But yeah, I think ultimately you already know all this. If you've read all the books and stuff, you know all this sort of stuff anyway. So there was nothing new to what we already know. You know, if it's been said, and this is the problem with doing stuff like this. You're talking about someone, you know, I think they tried to answer some questions. I mean, the thing like with Chris Benoit, I mean, what sort of answer do you think that they were going to give to that? Or he was going to give? You know, Steve Austin's also said he doesn't believe in all of that sort of stuff anyway, which may have affected Chris Benoit because he's never had a concussion and stuff like that. Once again, it's all been explained. WWE in the early 2000s put out a load of documentaries that they are awesome. Get them on DVD, watch them on the network. They're really, really, really good, and it's all explained in them. So my takeaway from this is the documentary is aimed at non-wrestling fans. Someone who hasn't probably been invested in the business for very, very long. And ultimately we didn't learn anything new. There's nothing new in this DVD, in this documentary, that surprised me, shocked me, or I didn't already know. I was sort of going along watching it. I'm like, oh, I already knew that. I already knew that. You know, you know, even to the point where they went and done the send off on the house show for for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And I already, you know, if you've watched the DVDs and you've listened to the interviews, you know that old school wrestlers like The Undertaker and all of those sort of guys hated that. And it was the sort of kayfabe stuff that they sort of do. It's still talked about now. Even the thing with Owen Hart. I mean, you know, what's not been said about it. It is what, you know, my take on it. It was an accident. Vince said it was an accident. And he goes, you know, it was a terrible, horrible accident, and it really was. You know, with the harness and stuff like that, which then they found out that the manufacturers knew it was faulty, sold it to WWE, knew it was faulty. They sued them as well. So regardless of what you think about that situation, ultimately, it even in court, even in them suing the company, even the police. It was an accident, and that was it. There was no foul play. It was an accident. But you know all this. If you've watched all the documentaries, you'll know all this already. The other thing about as well, like you said, Chris Benoit. If you watched all the documentaries as well and stuff, you will know that no one ever thought that he would do something like that. Like Vince said in the documentary, you know, people are flawed, and they completely are flawed. And some people live two different lives, like this Vince McMahon thing. Where does the character go? Where does it end? And that's it. I don't know what else you'd like. They're obviously asking these questions to try and get something, clickbait, whatever. But yeah, as a lifelong wrestling fan, there was nothing in this documentary that was new that I didn't know about or hadn't been said. But like I said, I think the documentary is more aimed at people that have probably only just started looking at the company, or someone who hasn't been heavily invested in it for many, many, many years, like myself. So I think a lot of stuff, they're talking about stuff that happened in, the early 90s and the 80s in the documentary. I think if you've only started watching it from the 2000 onwards, you wouldn't know any of this sort of stuff. But it's all out there. Nothing is off limits in wrestling, and everything has been said. Even the plane ride from hell is something that they all try to keep under cover, under wraps, as effectively always come out anyway. So yeah, there's loads of documentaries and stuff that have come out. So go and check them out. That's all I got to say. Do your research a little bit as well, because like I said, there's already stuff out there about McMahon. You don't have to look far for it, and there are some really good things like the McMahon books he's done and the McMahon DVD that was done a couple of years ago. It effectively explains a lot of this stuff, and then there's other documentaries you can watch as well. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that I've watched that this week, and like I said, there's just nothing new in it, nothing that I didn't already know, nothing that hasn't already been said as well, which is a bit bizarre. I don't know why they decided to do this documentary. Obviously, they stopped it because of the allegations, which is correct. Like I said, if anything comes of that, which I'm pretty sure something will, it wouldn't surprise me. Would it stop me watching for wrestling? No, because we've had scandals like this before with other wrestlers. With Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. So you know what I mean. It's nothing. It's just something that we've all done and we've all heard. We've all heard of, and it's been done. Though I don't like it, I think it's disgusting and primitive and all that sort of stuff, and always murky. But it won't stop me watching the product, obviously. I've enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it today. So like I said, I just don't want to keep going on about it, but I just wanted everyone to know, if you're going to watch the documentary, if you're a lifelong, my only thing is, I've said it, I keep repeating myself now, but if you're a lifelong fan, you haven't got Netflix and you're thinking, what's this documentary? Don't worry, because you already know stuff. You already know it all. And I'm pretty sure there are people that have just come into, probably 2015 onwards, probably don't know any of this stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. Look, go and check it out yourself. I watched it. I thought it was very watchable. Will I watch it again? No, there's no need to watch it a second time, because all has been done and said. But I did like it. It's not something that like I said, it's not something I'm going to go rewatch again, because it's stuff's been said before. But it is what it is. But there's so many good podcasts out there and so many discussions, and WWE themselves put out so many documentaries as well, which are all awesome. Actually, I think that are better than this documentary personally. But go and watch them anyway, and let us know what your thoughts in the comments. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let us know. But thanks for listening to me. Until next time, guys, keep it the Nexus, and we'll see you at the next video. So until then, see you later.